to Jake Jackets. Gear up to fire the cannon and hit the ice with your host, Jay Ashdown and Jake Gehringer.
It's been a week. It's been a hell of a week.
Yeah.
The hockey sphere's been a hell of a couple of days, hasn't it?
It surely has. There's been ups and downs, and I'm sure we'll get to both.
Oh, yeah. So, Rangers and Canes wrapped up.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, last time I
said
talked to you,
yeah.
The Canes were up 3-2.
Yeah. And they're out now.
Yeah, all they had to do was win one game. And they couldn't do it. And the Rangers are now going to the third round to face Tampa.
They couldn't win on the road this entire time.
Yeah, and that's the thing that's like crazy to me is you couldn't win one game on the road.
Not even against Boston.
Yeah. Usually you didn't have to win one on the road against Boston, so like you can get away with it. But like just one game on the road, just one game in MSG, you couldn't do it.
Yeah. I still laugh because I watched our last show back the other day, and I was laughing at what you said. You were like, maybe they just have trouble in Gardens.
They do. I don't have to tell you. 0-6. 0-6 in MSG and in TD. Who knows? Maybe if they had won Game 7, they would have won both games in Tampa. I don't know, man. It's crazy that they just cannot win on the road. But the Rangers are moving on to the third round.
It's weird though, because like Rod Brind'Amour is a really good coach, and we know this.
I don't know what it is. I have no idea what it is.
I mean, Gerard Gallant is also a fantastic coach.
Yeah.
Vegas.
Yeah.
Let's see. So game 5 we talked about last time. That was 3-1. Okay. Game
and then in the
6,
last
5 we're barn burners. Okay. Damn.
Yeah. So the last 2 games, Carolina got outscored 11-4.
We got a goalie point in game 6. Oh my god.
Yeah, Igor Shesterkin is a dominant.
Oh, wait a minute. He had 2 assists in that game. That was the game he had 2 assists. That's awesome. Man.
Playmaking goaltenders.
Playmaking goalie.
No, Igor was outstanding for most of these playoffs. I mean, outside of the 2 games that he got pulled in Pittsburgh, he's been incredible.
Mm-hmm.
He deserves, frankly, to move on.
Oh yeah,
he deserves that credit. But to me, it's interesting because let me pull this up for you right now. I'm looking at box scores for the playoffs. Okay.
Mm-hmm.
The Rangers came into game 1 of this series. Their goals saved above expected at that point was 1.2. Igor had such a good game 7, he was able to bump his goals saved above expected to 1.2 against the Penguins going into this series. What do you think it's at after this series?
Goal saved above his goal saved above expected.
Mm-hmm.
Isn't it around like 5 or something?
It's 12.1.
Oh,
he improved it by over. What is it? Let me. I'm bad at math.
I think I was looking at like going into a certain game, and it was like 5 or something like that.
He improved it by 10.9.
Oh,
that is over a goal saved above expected per game. Well over a goal saved above expected per game. So here's the thing, Jake, and you and I have been watching hockey long enough. We know this, that every year there's 1 or 2 teams in the playoffs that go on a little bit of a run
out of nowhere
of their goaltending. Now, I don't necessarily know if we want to call this an unexpected run for the Rangers, because usually it's in comparison to teams like last year was the Canadians, the year
Mhm.
before that it was the Stars. So like, we've seen teams like 2018 it was the Knights. Like
Yep.
there have been teams that have been like really good that make the playoffs, but they're not great teams, but they go deep because of goaltending. Things seem to come together. I don't necessarily know if I want to throw the Rangers in that category,
I don't think I
but
would throw the Blues Cup win in there either because they were hot ever since they were in last place.
yeah, because they finished in such a good spot that like I don't necessarily know if I want to throw them in there either. But at the same time, they were last in the league in January, so like it's kind of like back and forth. I don't.
It's a half and half with the Blues
It's
Cup
half
wins,
and
isn't
half.
it?
Everybody gets the point here that the Rangers are who we thought they were.
Mhm.
They're not that great at 5-on-5, but they don't need to be. They're really, really good and consistent on the power play, and they get the best goaltending in the league, outside of maybe Tampa.
Well, that's what's going to be fun about previewing this Eastern final.
Is that we get the two consensus best goalies. That's funny, dude. We think about it. On both sides, we get the best of both. We get the best of McKinnon and Rantanen versus Leon and
Connor.
and we also get Cale Makar and Evander Kane. Like we got a bunch of great offense, a bunch of firepower on the West, and on the East, we
It's
get a
going to be
great goaltending matchup. This is the best goaltending
crazy
we've had in the
goal.
playoffs, probably since Price versus Lundqvist.
Ooh. I don't know, because Quick's runs in 12 and 14 were something else.
Quick's runs were great in 12 and 2014, but there wasn't really a matchup that was quite as polarizing as Carey Price versus Henrik Lundqvist. You know what I mean?
Fair. Yeah.
In 2014. Or wait, no, God, that's right. Because Carey Price was fucking hurt during that series, so we didn't even get that. Never mind. Fuck what I said.
Wait, was that Halak?
Justin Tokarski. Remember that?
Oh, that was Tokarski. Oh my god.
Yeah, never mind. Fuck what I said. I'm stupid.
noted Sabres starter Dustin Tokarski.
Oh god. But who would it be? What was the last goaltending matchup that we can remember that was quite as interesting as this?
That was this crazy good.
Mm-hmm.
I'm trying to think because Fleury had himself.
We got Price versus Vasilevsky last year, but like to me, it never really felt like Montreal had that much of a chance.
It's hard to say because like we had Carey and Fleury in 21 as well.
True.
Right? We'd Carey and Fleury in 21. In 20, we had something really unexpected with Hudobin and Vasi.
Yeah, that was
Hudobin had himself a time.
Yeah, no, he went on a run, and that's why I throw the Stars in that because they were pretty good. But you wouldn't have expected with fucking Anton Hudobin, like.
In terms of expected goalies, yeah, I don't know.
I mean, maybe when you make the point about Jonathan Quick, we would say it'd be Jonathan Quick versus Marty Brodeur, but
Quick and Brodeur, or like, I don't know.
He also played Lundqvist in 2014.
Bish and Crow in 15, maybe.
Yeah. Bishop also played Lundqvist in 2015 as well.
That one was a good series.
Yeah, there've been some interesting goaltending matches.
That's a good point though, because this.
When was the last time we saw the consensus number one versus consensus number two? Now, and I'm not saying like we know there's a consensus one or a consensus two. All we know is these two are the top two. Yes. Whether you have one guy one or the other guy number one, doesn't matter. We know that these two best goaltenders.
These are the top two.
Yeah.
Regardless of where you put them. Yeah.
I can't remember the last time we saw the two top goalies play each other. Unless, of course, you're going back to like the 90s. So it wouldn't have been a situation where we would have watched.
Let's do a little bit more of an in-depth preview in a second.
Yeah.
Because we need to talk about, this is something you wanted to get to. Just how much the Hurricanes kind of melted down.
Yeah.
Because I felt that it was more just unfortunate circumstances than anything. From trying to understand the context of what happened in the game, where, you know, you're already down, you're trying your ass off to come back, and Ranta goes down.
Here's my problem. It's not to say that they melted down in game 7. It's that they melted down in game 3, in game 4, and in game 6. You know, you can't your ultimate goal here. You're expecting your team to go perfect at home. In order for there's no situation that Carolina Hurricanes can move on with the way things went unless they go 8-0 at home. You can't do that. It just doesn't happen. So my problem was, honest to God, my problem wasn't them losing game 7. It happens. Game 7s are hard, especially when you don't have the goaltending edge. And I love Antti Ranta. It's Igor Shesterkin.
Right. It's like there's kind of
you're up 2-0. You're up 3-2. You had 2 series leads in this point at different times. Win a fucking road game, man. Good Lord.
Yeah. Yeah.
We got to give the Rangers some credit here for what they've done. Because Carolina hadn't lost a home game all playoffs, and the Rangers handled their business at home. And when it ultimately mattered the most, they got it done on the road.
It felt like a Rangers home game in games, like towards the end of game 7.
Yeah, they got a lot of fans. Rangers fans travel well. They did a really good job with that. But
well, then you also had all those Canes fans leaving.
Yeah, that's
so early in the third.
Not a great look for Canes fans either. I'll say this about the Rangers, because I feel like this has been a topic of conversation too, is this sense that their path to the Eastern Conference Final is flawed due to goaltending injuries, other injuries, stuff like that, like Crosby going out and Raquel going out, and obviously Jari was out for most of the series. DeSmith missed time, and Anderson wasn't healthy at all, and there was a couple times where they had to go to Kochetkov. Like, to me, you don't choose your fucking opponent.
That's just a part of the.
It's a part of the game. And frankly, like, what do you want them to do? Postpone the game? For
when everybody's healthy? That's not going to happen.
It doesn't work like that. I know that there's frustration with it, but at the end of the day, you got to give them credit because they handled their business. They're down 3-1 to Pittsburgh. They're down 3-2 to Carolina. They're down 2-0 to Carolina, then 3-2 to Carolina.
Right.
They came back and won both those series. And to me, of course, Rangers fans aren't going to give a shit. They shouldn't give a shit.
They're going to the Eastern Conference Final. That's what they should care about right now.
The other thing that bothers me about it, I understand for the people who talk about the Pittsburgh series, because DeSmith only played game 1, Jari only played game 7. So you had 5 and plus game 1 in overtime, 5 plus games of Louis Domingue. All right.
Right.
If you're frustrated with that, fine. I'm not willing to hear anybody out who is willing to just be like, oh, you're always playing backup goaltending. Oh, you know what? Can we stop talking? Can we stop lumping Antti Ranta in with the likes of Louis Domingue and, Pyotr Kochetkov? Like Antti Ranta in his career has played over 200 games in the National Hockey League and has a .919 save percentage. He's not I know he's the backup goaltender for the Carolina Hurricanes. He's a starter on most teams. His issues has been health.
Yeah, he's always been a very solid tandem goaltender.
Yeah.
Because remember, when he started his career, he was the backup to Henrik fucking Lundqvist.
Yeah, because he was in Chicago, then went to the Rangers, was really good on both. And then then he had injury problems with Arizona. But like you said, he's perfect in a tandem, which is what they did with Anderson, because you're not relying on him as much to start games. So the chances, the likelihood he gets injured decreases. Therefore, the healthier he is, the more you're able to utilize him to the best of your abilities. It's no shocker that he had to start these games for the Hurricanes in the playoffs, and he got hurt at 2 different points because he's not used in the National Hockey League to starting, game. Like
Right.
In a perfect world, it would be game night off for him.
Right. Yeah.
I mean? But of course, in the playoffs, you don't do that because if Freddie Anderson were healthy, he wouldn't have been starting at all. But I don't think it's fair to act as if there's a significant drop off between Freddie Anderson and Antti Ranta. I just don't think there is. There might be a little bit of a drop off, but the drop offs like that.
Well, because Freddie also, Freddie took a really similar path to Ranta, I think, in terms of becoming a starter.
A little bit because, he was the 3rd round pick of the Ducks and he worked his way up. And then it was him and Gibson for quite some time. And then obviously Gibson was, the Ducks guy moving forward. So they made the deal, obviously, to send him to Toronto.
Right.
When, it didn't make sense financially for them to keep him. It wasn't like he was able to start games for them. He was their guy in the playoffs in 2014, the Ducks. But
he didn't become the guy until he went to Toronto.
It was finally his team. It was the first time he ever was his team. It was in Toronto in 2016, 17.
16, 17 was the first one. Yeah.
Yeah. So, and then, obviously he has several good years there, but they don't move on to the playoffs. Then he gets hurt. Campbell takes over. He's a free agent. And I thought it was a good decision for both him and Ranta because it felt like a situation where they weren't going to overuse either one of these guys. And
they can share the net pretty darn well. Yeah.
And they both have had some injury history. So it made sense. Like, well, if one of these guys is injured, you can rely on the other one. And they're there for each other. They lean on each other.
Until they both go down and then you have to go to David again.
Yeah. It sucked that that's how it worked out. It really did. But at the end of the day, man, just win a fucking road game. Just win a fucking road game. I give the credit to the Rangers because, frankly, they deserve it. Whether people want to give them that credit or not, when it came down to it in the most important moments, they got it done. And it's not, I know a lot of people are very anti-analytics, and analytics aren't really a huge fan of the New York Rangers as far as how they play at 5-on-5. It's not to say you can't win the way that the Rangers do. It's just that it's a hell of a lot harder and more unsustainable to do it. You can win series, but there's a reason that both of these series went 7.
Right.
The same way that they could beat the Tampa Bay Lightning. But Jake, if they're going to do it, it's probably going to go 7.
It's going to go, yeah. If that happens.
Rangers, I could see the Rangers winning the series. I can't see them winning it in 4, 5, or 6.
They're going to need to claw their way through this.
They are. The way that any team's going to have to claw their way through the Tampa Bay Lightning if they want to beat them.
I mean,
unless, of course, you're the Columbus Blue Jackets.
And the Panthers got declawed like that.
Oh, my God. The Panthers got fucking mauled. Holy shit. Oh, my God. That cat got struck. That kid had 9 lives. It took all.
And lost them all in one bowl. So yeah, that game 7 meltdown just wow.
Yeah. So I have a fun question for you. I asked my buddy who's a Rangers fan this. And 5-on-5 primary shot contribution. So this is creating offensive 5-on-5 in the second round.
Okay.
Who do you think the best forward at 5-on-5 was for the Rangers?
For the Rangers?
Mm-hmm.
Best forward for the Rangers. Kreider.
Nope.
Is it one of the kids?
It is.
Oh my God. Is it Filipino?
It is Filipino.
Oh my God.
Filipino is the best Rangers forward at 5-on-5. Now, obviously, Kreider, Zibanejad, Panarin, they were all great on the power play. But in terms of creating offense at 5-on-5, it's credible, dude. This guy had a brutal regular season. And I went to that Rangers game. Obviously, in March, late March.
Right.
And Rangers fan, everybody around me, every time this guy touched the puck, were just chirping him. They couldn't stand him at the time. There were so many of them just like clowning how soft of a player he is, and they're just like, get this guy out of the fucking lineup and stuff like that. And since the playoffs began, he's been their best player. He's been one of their best players since the playoffs began. So hopefully for the Rangers, this is a guy who's, turning the corner a little bit at the right time, and maybe this continues on in the next season. And
well, you got to remember that he's also a child by National Hockey League standards.
Yeah, he is a pretty young player. But I mean,
he literally just turned old enough to get a beer in America. Like,
the best time for a player to really start stepping up, man. He's playing his best hockey right now, and that's big for the Rangers.
Oh yeah. Kind of fun to see him with Laugh and Kako too. Just to get the youth on your third line and just have them run amok.
It works best for them because they get to keep all the stars together on the top line, and obviously Strome and Copp are doing their work really well. It helps.
Right, that's an interesting.
It helps having Barclay Goodrow back in the lineup, and we're about to preview the Barclay Goodrow Bowl. But
yeah, it's the McDonough Bowl too.
Yeah. But I'm telling you, man, their best line in terms of just pure 5-on-5, creating offense, providing energy. Hedl, Kakko, and Lafreniere. And I'd say Hedel's been the best of the three of them. Kakko is struggling like he has the last couple of years in the regular season to finish.
We've talked about how
he's good defensively.
Each of those other two have their struggles, on either side of the puck.
Exactly. Like Hedl, like I mentioned, is a relatively softer skill kind of player. Which can work to his advantage and to his disadvantage, obviously. Lafreniere is pretty good offensively.
Struggles defensively.
And then Kakko, good Lord, is not driving offense. He's not finishing. He's pretty damn good defensively. So they work together. They're young guys. They're learning this together. And I kind of like the fact that is not saying mixing them up and whatnot. Like, we're gonna play with a veteran here and whatnot. They're letting the veterans do their thing together, and he's letting the kids figure this thing out together. They're reading each other, feeding off of each other, and any mistakes that they make, they can rectify together.
It's kind of fun to feel out the way that these guys each play too, because like we just said, they have their strengths and weaknesses on either side of the puck.
Yeah.
Hedl in the middle is pretty well-rounded for the most part.
He's more well-rounded than the other two, I would say.
So it's funny having each of your wingers has their thing that they do better, but then they have you in the middle to kind of guide either side in the most important forward position, mind you.
Yeah, and this is, like I said, this is a guy who was kind of in and out of the lineup, was struggling in the bottom six. And, that
him and Blackwell really struggled in the bottom six for a while together before he got sent to Seattle.
Well, Blackwell was with Seattle.
No, that's what I'm saying. Before he left for Seattle.
Oh, he's from the expansion draft from last year?
Yeah.
Right. Yeah. Okay. Yeah. So, I don't know. Blackwell was decent at times for them, but Hedl was really struggling in the bottom six. Laugh was having success on the top line.
Right.
Kakko was struggling everywhere.
This poor guy.
And Gallant, I love the decision, man. I love the decision to just be like, all right, we're just going to put the horses together, and, these kids, we're going to let them figure this out together.
Yeah.
The biggest moment of the year, the playoffs, your rival in the Penguins, another really good team in the Eastern Conference with a bunch of your old players in the Hurricanes. And now moving on to the back-to-backs, defending Stanley Cup champion Tampa Bay Lightning. He is relying so heavily on these freaking kids together, and it's working. And you got to give Gallant a hell of a lot of credit for that.
I mean, I say yes, but I also say yes in that we know that that's how Gallant is.
Yeah.
And that still makes me salty on the Vegas thing. you know,
And now they're searching for, yet another coach.
they're searching for their third head coach in twice as many years.
Mm-hmm.
It's like,
I mean, I go back.
they made a huge mistake, man. Wow.
You got to give credit to the Rangers for how they've rebuilt this too. I want to go back. This was February 8th, 2018.
Mm-hmm.
Glenn Sather and Jeff Gordon sent out a letter to the Rangers. Do you remember this on Twitter?
2018?
Yeah.
I don't remember this.
As a member of the Blue Shirt Faithful, we consider you a part of the New York Rangers family and always want to ensure we share important information about the organization directly with you. Today, we want to talk to you about the future. As you know, since the 2005-2006 season, we have been a highly competitive team. We have played 129 playoff games, won the President's Trophy, reached the conference final 3 times, as well as the Stanley Cup final. While we're proud of all these accomplishments, we didn't reach our ultimate goal of bringing the Stanley Cup back to New York.
Mm-hmm.
So as we do every season, we have been continuously evaluating our team, looking for areas that can be improved to enhance our chances of winning. We began the process of reshaping our team this past summer when we traded for assets that we believe will help us in the years to come. As we approach the trade deadline later this month and into the summer, we will be focused on adding young competitive players that can combine speed, skill, and character. This may mean that we lose some familiar faces and guys that we all care about and respect. While this is a part of the game, this is never easy. Our promise to you is that our plans will be guided by our singular commitment, ensuring we are building the foundation for our next Stanley Cup contender. They put out a freaking letter to the fans to basically tell them we're rebuilding.
Oh, right. Yes.
And that's, to me,
that now I remember this. Yeah.
Just the ultimate sign of respect from an organization to their fan base. And to think that that was only 4 years ago, and now they're in the conference final, just tells you everything they need to know about that rebuild. It also tells you everything you need to know about James Dolan for freaking, like, this is nothing against Chris Drury. I like the guy, but there's no freaking reason Jeff Gordon should not be the general manager of this team.
No, there's no reason that
what he built.
There's no reason that, I mean, and don't get me wrong, I love John Davidson, but there's no reason that JD shouldn't still be in New York either.
Should be back. I'm thankful, but there's no reason he should be here. He should still be in New York, if we're being honest.
Yeah, exactly.
And, but regardless, even though I disagree with those decisions that they made to fire those 2 guys, the team that was already assembled came together, and they're moving on to the Eastern Conference.
And this is going to be a hell of an Eastern Conference final. Let's get into this shit.
So, yeah, and here's the thing. I wanted to mention what I mentioned beforehand to basically bring up 2 different frames of thinking.
Mm-hmm.
The frame of mind for the Rangers that a lot of people have is, they faced a little bit of DeSmith, a lot of Domingue, a little of an injured Jari, and then a lot of a backup in Antti Raanta. They've never faced anything like Andrei Vasilevsky. And to that, I would say
they have.
Tampa Bay Lightning haven't faced anything like Igor Shesterkin.
Right.
And that, to me, is what makes this interesting, because we're facing 2 teams that are pretty similar in the fact that they're really, really fucking good on the power play. Their power plays are so sick. Their goaltending is so sick.
It's crazy. Okay, so let's talk about this. Let's break this down. First of all, I want to mention that this is the 3rd series in a row that the Tampa Bay Lightning don't have home ice.
Which is crazy, but they don't give a shit about that, which is
no.
So they're just like, I don't give a fuck. Like, this is the first time that these 2 teams have faced off since 2015, and that matchup was Ben Bishop versus Henrik Lundqvist.
And now we get Igor Shesterkin versus Andrei Vasilevsky.
It's the predecessors, or it's the successors in the series, and it's exciting to think that these 2 organizations, man, they went from Ben Bishop to Andrei Vasilevsky, and the other one went from Henrik Lundqvist to Igor Shesterkin.
Oh my god,
that is
it's
just
so wild.
Talk about being spoiled, man. That's unbelievable. But
this is like you said, we love talking about how much the former players are cycling through these teams.
Yeah.
Right? And like you just said, and like I just said earlier, this is the Barclay Goodrow Bowl and the Ryan McDonough Bowl.
Yeah. So a little bit of an advantage to, the Rangers here for having a guy like Barclay Goodrow who
that
knows
was just on those cup winning teams. Yeah.
He knows their tendencies. He knows what their locker room is like.
Mm-hmm.
He knows what John Cooper is like.
Yep.
He knows what that organization is looking for, the standards that they hold themselves to, how they go about their business. Now, I know that McDonough was a part of the Rangers too, but McDonough he was traded from the Rangers a while ago. So he hasn't been a part of any nobody from that regime that he was a part of is really there anymore. So that's why the edge, I think, in terms of knowledge, goes to the Rangers.
The player insider knowledge, yeah.
The player insider knowledge. Now, how much does that actually affect the series? I don't know. But if it even affects it just 1%, you'll take any 1% you get.
Yeah.
So it's funny because this series, like most series, often come down to goaltending. Who the fuck do you give the edge to?
I want to switch gears and talk about the power play just really fast.
Yeah.
Before we talk about the goalies, because I want to end this preview on the goalies because that is literally biggest. Because that's the biggest story with the Eastern Conference Final.
Hardest to predict out of all of it.
Yeah, exactly. So the power plays, right?
Mm-hmm.
I kind of want to give the power play edge to Tampa.
Yeah.
Only slightly.
Yeah.
Because
that's the thing. Most of the edges we give to teams in this series are only going to be slightly.
Yeah. Because, the Rangers, obviously you have Kreider, you have Mika, you have Bread, you have Strome, you have Fox.
Mm-hmm.
That's probably your first
Trouba
unit,
too,
right?
Has been pretty good.
Truba's probably on their second unit with one or two of the kids.
Yeah. Andrew Kopp's been really effective.
Kopp's probably up there. Yeah. Kopp's been such a dynamic player for this team ever since they got him.
The definition of dynamic. I mean, he is everything that you could have expected because there's
scores on the power play and kills penalties.
The second round pick that they traded to get Andrew Kopp today just turned into a first round pick.
Oh,
I'll tell you what, there's not a Rangers fan in the world who gives a fuck about giving up that first round pick for what he has provided to that team.
No. He's
been excellent.
He's been exactly what they're looking for.
Mm-hmm.
They needed a 5-tool player.
Right.
And Kopp's been that guy.
Yeah.
And then you also, like, in terms of Tampa's power play, dude, you have weapons everywhere.
Yeah.
You have probably some of the most lethal shots in the league on both units.
Well, it's amazing because when you just talk about, like, in premise, the Tampa Bay power play, you think of, obviously, Stammer.
You think of Kucherov.
Which means the third name you're bringing up is Braden Point.
Who's not there.
And then the fourth name you're probably bringing up is Victor Hedman.
Can we mention that? Okay. Braden Point hasn't played all playoff.
Yeah, because he's been out since Game 7 of the Maple Leaf series. And that's you think that would be
that's a boon to him, but like no,
the President's Trophy without hell. But here's the interesting thing, and I don't know if maybe this is sometimes boredom of you're just so fucking good. You've been so great for so long that you're not firing on all cylinders.
The fact that they just slid Nick Paul in there like it was nothing.
Yeah. But for Tampa, as far as power play is concerned, it should be noted in the regular season, their power play percentage was 23.6%, which is pretty good.
That's
penalty kill was 80.9%, was pretty. But the Rangers' power play percentage was at 25.5%, so that's higher. And their penalty kill percentage was 82.4, which is also higher.
So they had better special teams numbers overall.
Yeah.
I'd like to know what the distribution is in terms of how many for each team, just to like know what the actual ratio would be.
Right. So, and the other thing that's interesting, so the Rangers, obviously, with how good their goaltending is, 2.49 goals against per game in the regular season compared to Tampa at 2.77. But Tampa is more of an offensive team. They push more than the Rangers do. So Tampa averaged 3.44 goals per game, while the Rangers only averaged 3.05. So the offensive edge, at least at 5-on-5, obviously goes to the Lightning.
Yeah.
But in terms of how they want to play, pace of play, the Rangers want the game to be a little bit slower, try and limit chances as much as they can.
Gallant plays a more defensive-minded system than Cooper does.
Yes, it has been a point of emphasis with the Rangers that he has been more defensive,
which is nice for a lot of their left side guys.
Yes,
because you have the completely underrated Keandre Miller, which how good has he looked?
He's been so good.
Oh my God, this kid, he's gonna look fantastic in the next 5 years plus. Right? You have the cyborg, as the hockey guy put it, in Ryan Lindgren.
Yeah.
That dude, I don't know
how that dude is just he's just toughness. If you look at the word toughness, and it's just Ryan Lindgren.
I literally I remember I watched the preview that Shannon did before we started this, and he kept calling him a cyborg, which I mean he is, and then fans on the Discord, on the SDPN Discord, kept calling him a bionicle. That's a perfect comparison. This dude, literally, he's out with an equipment issue or something, and then he's right back in there like it was nothing. It's like he's coming back with a new body part.
Right. The interesting thing for previewing this series, and it doesn't always matter, but the Rangers
trying to think who's their
in the regular season.
Oh, they swept Tampa in the regular season series?
They did. I think that's interesting. And historically, teams that come off of a sweep don't perform as well because of how long they've been, out of commission, at least in comparison to teams that are coming off of a Game 7 win.
Okay, so that's an interesting part too, because the rest is going to play a factor in this.
It's the rest versus rust argument.
Yeah.
So, and we're not talking about Brian.
That dude got paid. Oh my God.
He got paid a lot of money.
So Tampa, obviously coming off the sweep, is on 9 days of rest.
Yeah.
Going into tomorrow.
But I mean, at the same time, the Rangers are going back home completely amped at winning 2 straight games, winning 2 straight series.
They're going to be tired, but at the same time, they do get that. Well, that's the thing too, is we talk about momentum, we talk about rhythms.
Yeah.
Right? New York is in a rhythm, having played every other day and still getting to play every other day going into tomorrow. Tampa's had 9 full days off.
Yeah.
They're going to be rusty. We know this.
It's just how it is. So the question is,
but it's just how rusty are they going to look?
And the good thing I will say for them, if you're going to be rusty, it is better to be rusty to start a series on the road than it is at home, because you don't want to waste those home opportunities to win hockey games.
Right.
And you're in a situation where you don't need to win games 1 and 2. You just need to take one on the road. handle your business, win one on the road, going back to Tampa. So you lose game one if you're Tampa. It's not the end of the world. It's not really that big deal. But for the Rangers, like if the Rangers are going to want to beat the Lightning,
they're going to need to lock things down.
In my opinion, it needs to be like at least tied 2-2 after 4 games in the series. They went down 3-1 to Pittsburgh. I understand that. You can't do what you did to the Penguins against it's just not going to happen.
They were also down 2-0 and 3-2 to Carolina.
Exactly. And you can't afford to go down 2-0 to Tampa. The important thing for the Rangers, they can't trail by 2 games at any point in this series, whether it be 2-0 or 3-1.
No, that's a death sentence.
It is.
Especially considering who the Tampa Bay Lightning employ between the pipes.
Yeah.
Let's talk about these guys.
And that's where goaltending is obviously going to be very important in this series.
This is going to be a war in net.
It is paramount in games 1 and 2 because, like we talk about rust versus rust, and the fact that Tampa Bay is going to be a little rusty coming into the series, whereas the Rangers are in a little bit of a rhythm here. They're going to need Igor to be great, and they need him to be better than Vasilevsky in games 1 and 2, in my opinion.
They need him to
want to win the series.
They need him to be the way he started 2022. When he was coming in, through the first month of this year with over a 950.
Yeah.
I know that's like superhuman numbers, but that's kind of what they need out of him against a guy like Andrei Vasilevsky, who is coming off of winning back-to-back cups. He's got a Conn Smythe or 2. Does he not have? I think he's got at least the 1, right?
Yeah.
He's got at least the 1.
He's got 1. The bubble one was Hedman.
Okay. So he's got the 1 from 21. He's huge. And he's just like, he's literally the definition of unbeatable in clutch situations.
Yeah, especially the playoffs. But I don't want to sound dramatic. I can't remember the last time I thought a 920 save percentage in a series might not be enough.
Dude, I don't know what to tell you, man.
Not any series you're in. A 920 save percentage in this series might not be enough for either guy.
Do you remember
the 21st night of September? Yes.
Do you remember there was, I want to say 2 years ago, there was a game between Toronto and Los Angeles that ended. And obviously this is a regular season game, so it's like this doesn't apply in the playoffs necessarily. Right. But the result was 1-0 in a shootout.
Yeah. Those are always fun.
Literally no goals were scored. Both goalies got a shutout and one of them lost. That is how I feel about the goaltending matchup in this series. That is exactly what I feel like.
Exactly how it feels.
And the crazy thing is, both of these guys, especially for goalies, are still crazy friggin' young. Because you got to remember that Andrei Vasilevsky just turned 27.
He's been around for fucking ever. How the fuck is he only 27?
He's 27 years old, just won back-to-back cups, and he's already Hall of Fame caliber.
If his career ended today, he would be a Hall of Famer.
He's first ballot. No joke.
Yeah, not even a question.
So go ahead and retire 88 now.
For wow. Real? He's that damn good.
Oh my gosh. And Igor's just got, he's got so much time still to grow. He has time to grow, and
he's time to get better.
It's time to get better, and he's already as good as he is. He's what, like 23?
I think he's 25.
25, okay.
Because he was in the 2014 draft.
Okay, all right.
And he took forever to, develop in the K, but I mean, they were patient, and look, it paid off.
Yeah, because remember his last few seasons in the K were also like in the 930s.
They were ridiculous.
I think he had one 950 season in the K as well. God, I'm so excited for this Eastern final because it's just going to be who scores first and when.
We'll see a goal in like the fourth overtime.
Fourth overtime.
To make it 1-0.
It's going to be wild because it's like, it's going to feel like the way Stars and Flames started. You know, like I'm imagining the way that Flames and Stars went.
1-0 and then 2-0.
Right.
And then you're sitting around like, holy fuck.
But at the same time, you're watching the way that the skaters play. And it's some of the craziest setups. You know what I mean? It's going to be like watching everybody fly around is going to be so dynamic and crazy. But then you see a chance actually happen and it's nothing.
Yeah.
For either goalie. And it's like, okay, this is going to be.
Much of the Stanley Cup playoffs is goaltending, like we've said. And I have
unless you're Flames and Oilers game 1.
I have a trivia question for you. All right?
Yeah.
Since April 1st, who do you think leads the NHL in goals saved above expected? And I'll give you a reference, okay?
Okay.
First place, it's 22.9 goals saved above expected in 21 games. And in second place, it's 15.5 goals saved above expected in 23 games, okay?
And it's since when?
Since April 1st. And this is not an April Fool's joke.
You sure about that?
Who do you think's first in the league in goals saved above expected?
Above expected. Igor.
No, he's second. No?
Oh. Is it Andre?
Nope.
It's not even Andre? Oh my God. Oh, wow. Who's first? Auntie Ranta.
Nope.
No. Oh, no. Mike Smith?
It's Mike Smith.
Oh, no.
So speaking of goaltending.
All right. This will get us into the Western final.
Mike Smith,
good transition. I like that.
Oh.
Okay, let me just wrap up the Eastern final saying I'm fucking hyped.
Yeah, all right. Predictions. Who we got?
Whew. Oh, man. I want to say Tampa's reign of terror ends here, but no.
All right.
I'm going to say Tampa in 7.
All right. And I am going to say that hockey doesn't give a fuck about your feelings, so it's going to be Rangers in 7. A lot of people are pissed about the Rangers moving on because of their path and all the goalies getting injured. That 100% means to me that the Rangers are going to move on again, and people are going to get even more pissed. So I'm going to pick Rangers in 7 just because it feels like what's going to happen.
Well, they've already worn out their Tony chance. What are they going to do now?
Let me tell you, I understand people are pissed about like, Domingo. If they beat the fucking Tampa Bay Lightning, you better shut the hell up because we're out of complaints at that point.
Right. But the West, I know we talked about the West in our last episode and kind of previewed it more or less.
Fucking Mike Smith. Oh man.
He's arrived again. He's fucking reborn.
Oh,
it's weird, right?
Have you seen his career save percentage in the playoffs?
No.
It is weirdly high.
Weirdly high?
Yeah.
I mean, he's also not been there often enough.
He's actually been there quite more often than you think.
Granted, he's also 41. So
in 41 playoff games, it's a .931 save percentage.
Oh, good for you, Mike. Damn.
4 goals against average.
It's not bad either.
It's kind of crazy. You wouldn't really think twice about it because he had one appearance. I think it was 2011. He played a little bit for Tampa, and then obviously the Western.
What?
Yeah. Huh. It was the legendary tandem of Mike Smith and Dwayne Rollison.
Oh, okay. That was a while ago then. All right.
So, and then obviously next year he was with the Coyotes. They got to the Western Conference Final. He was dynamite in those playoffs. He was unbeatable, and the only guy who was even more unbeatable was Jonathan Quick. I'm not even if the Kings don't win that series, the Coyotes might have a cup. I think the Kings might have pulling a cup from the Coyotes, which is crazy to think about. Because that Coyotes team absolutely could have beaten the Devils.
Could have kept him in the city longer. Could have kept him in the state longer.
Yeah, who knows? Maybe if they had a cup, they wouldn't be playing at a fucking college rink right now.
On the other end of the ice, you got Darcy Kemper for Colorado. Kemp's been awesome. And it's nice that, he can still kind of relax for the most part.
Well, the last 2 series he's going to have his hands full this series.
Yeah, because we talk about the goaltending duel that's in the East.
And now we're going to talk about offense.
Now we're going to talk about machine gun fire.
Like we're talking. Oh, you want to talk about firepower? We're going to get to the chopper. That's where we're at right now.
Love me some Predator references.
Let me tell you. You know that I'm a huge analytics geek.
I mean, you are the resident nerd, yes.
It's not just analytics, but everything like that about hockey. You should look at this Final Four and say, Bolts Avs.
Right.
Why does it feel like we're getting Rangers Oilers?
Why? Yeah. It's
I honestly think we might be getting Rangers Oilers, and I don't think the world is quite prepared for it.
So tonight's the first game of the Western Final, as of recording this, right? We made jokes last episode that this is JJ versus Ceci, right? This is because it is, and it's weirdly what you are more excited for.
Either see Jack Johnson versus Cody Ceci. I'm so excited for that, man.
But everybody
offensive fire, Jack Johnson breakaway.
No,
kick.
Okay. So if you want
Cody
to like
Ceci hardest shot competition as he fires it into the corner.
I actually saw a couple of J Fresh tweets or Dom tweets or whatever. I want to say it was J Fresh. It looked like his model. Cody has been actually pretty dynamite.
Yeah, he's actually been pretty good, which makes it even funnier. It's hard for me to wrap my mind around Cody Ceci being effective. I'm not against it. It's just it's different for me. I didn't see it coming.
He's actually looked pretty good.
And it's not even just the like eye test wise. I've watched like most of the Oilers games this postseason, and every time I watch them, I'm like, he looks pretty damn good. Like it's not just those little nerd stat things that people seem to hate about analytics. Like, no, just watch the games. He looks pretty good.
For a guy that's
that's been our whole thing about Cody Ceci though. Is not that he can't be a good player. It's that you can't employ him 25 minutes a night and expect him to be effective. Right. He's really good when you're giving him 16, 17 minutes a night on like the third pair. That's when he's at his best. And the Oilers have done a pretty good job of putting him in positions to succeed.
Right.
And you got to give Jay Woodcroft a lot of credit for that.
You're riding your ponies on the back end with Nurse and usually probably like Bouchard.
And Bouchard's been excellent. You know, I mentioned it last podcast. I can't understate how amazing he's been this postseason specifically.
Mm-hmm. You obviously got the leadership qualities ish in dunks back there.
Yeah.
Which, you know, despite 2010, yes. He's still a very good defenseman, even at this age, more or less, for leadership and what have you. So he's back there. You got Ceci and Barry.
Here's the thing I found interesting. Okay.
What's that vibration noise you got going? Something was vibrating.
It's
weird.
I was. I don't know.
You got a ghost in your house.
Good. I love ghosts. So 5-on-5 entry defense chance rate. Mm-hmm. So this is percentage of entry attempts that led to chance. With a minimum of 4 targets per game. So the lower the percentage is, the better you are at defending teams' entries into the offensive zone and preventing scoring chances.
Mm-hmm.
So the top 3, okay. Number 1, Devon Toews. No real surprise there, right?
No.
Number 2, I was a little surprised by Eric Johnson.
EJ, huh?
EJ's been really good this postseason.
Yeah, I mean, he has, but like, huh.
Guess who number 3 is?
It's not Cody, is it?
No.
And this is prevention?
Yes. So this is, proficiency in defensively preventing teams, entering the zone and getting, scoring opportunities that way.
Kale?
Nope.
No?
Not who you would expect.
Huh. Okay. So then I can't say Evan.
No, you can't say Evan because, like I said, remember I mentioned last podcast, his even strength defense was, he's not great defensively, but that's okay because that's what you expect from him because he's so damn good offensively and in the neutral zone.
Right.
That's where his strengths are.
Who is it then?
Defensively in the postseason, he's been really good at preventing teams with their entries.
Who is it then?
It's Evan Bouchard.
Oh, it is Evan. Okay.
Yeah.
I was like,
so,
okay. So
yeah,
let me reach.
2 is EJ, 3 is Bouchard, and 4 and 5, Cal Foote and Eric Chernak.
Put away your charts because I want you to know these.
Hell yeah. Let's go.
5-on-5 zone entry denial rate in the second round. Number 1, our boy, Cody Ceci. Now, granted, again, this is second round stats, but
elite defensively.
And then here's this one.
There's not a better defenseman in the National Hockey League.
Here's another. So
y'all ain't ready for Conn Smythes. You're not ready for Ceci Smythe.
5-on-5 defensive zone breakups in the second round.
Is it Ceci?
So this is, plays broken up in the defensive zone at 5-on-5.
Right.
Number 1, Condry Miller.
Yeah, Miller's been excellent.
Number 2, Adam Fox.
Mm-hmm.
Number 3 is Cody Ceci.
God.
And then number 4 is Devon Toews.
Yeah.
So Cody Ceci, Devon Toews,
it can't be understated how good Bouchard and Ceci have been in these playoffs, but also not to get back to the East, but like we mentioned earlier, Condry Miller, man. People need to stop sleeping on him. He's
yeah, exactly. He's such a good defenseman. But it's funny, we've talked about the goaltending and defense or whatever, and more or less just Cody Ceci. Cale Makar's going to carry things. Devon Toews is going to carry things for the Abs.
Here's the thing. Everybody in the world, I think, would love to see Avs Lightning because we would get to see McKinnon versus Stamkos and, Rantanen versus Kucherov and
Mhm.
Cale Makar versus Victor Hedman.
Right.
And you know what we're gonna get? We're gonna get fucking Mike Smith and Cody Ceci versus Barclay Goodrow.
Mick versus Mac is the main attraction, though.
It is. Okay, so we'll get to Mick versus Mac. Okay. Predictions.
Uh-huh.
Who do you think has the better series, Nathan McKinnon or Connor McDavid?
I think Connor puts up more points, McKinnon puts up more goals.
Okay.
Does that make sense?
Yes, it does make sense. I think Connor puts up more points, and I also think Connor puts up more wins. I'm taking the Oilers in 6 here.
I'm going to take Colorado in 6.
And understand.
And this isn't just because I have Colorado in my bracket.
Right. Understand if you're a Colorado fan, be like, man, what the hell? He picked St. Louis against us, and he's picking it. It's nothing against the Avs. It's absolutely nothing against I love the Avs. But to me, it's just what feels oftentimes in hockey, I look at things and I'm like, what makes less sense? That's what's going to happen.
Well, yeah, because hockey makes no sense in general.
So that is why
hockey never makes sense. Believe us.
I'm looking at everything here and I'm saying, oh, the Avs are clearly the better team. So I'm picking the Oilers.
So the secondary scoring, first of all,
yeah,
you've Gabe Landeskog, Mikko Rantanen, Nazem Kadri,
yeah,
Andre Burakovsky.
Mm-hmm.
The bottom 6 has been really good scoring wise too. Valnichushkin. The bottom 6 is really chipped in. JT looked really good last round.
He hasn't chipped in offensively yet, but Nico Sturm's really good defensively. You got Alex Manson.
You got Manson and Sturm down there shutting guys down. But then, New Hooks looked really good. Darren Helm again scoring the anniversary series winner.
And then, then you look at their back end and you're like, oh my God, Cale Makar and Devon Taves.
And those two are going to really put up all the points.
And Byram and Ryan Murray and Josh Manson. And I raise you one Cody Ceci.
Who would
win the entire Colorado
roster or one Cody Ceci boy? No, okay. Oh my God.
I'll take the CC every time.
God, it's just you and your running gag of just bad analytical numbers. Like, wow. But the Avs are completely front loaded.
Yes.
Like all the way up and down their forward lines.
Yes.
And then the Oilers, you have the 2-headed monster with Evander Kane, which
it's Zach Hyman and Ryan Nugent-Hopkins and all those guys. They're the engine. They're absolutely the engine that runs this thing. But they drive for Kane and all those other guys. They're producing because of them. To me, the X factor in this series,
it has to be depth.
It has to be depth. To me, the two guys that are going to need to step up for the Oilers are going to be Kyler Yamamoto and Jesse Puljujarvi.
Yes, because these guys have been cold the entire time.
And I think the two guys that you're going to want to look for in the Avalanche, I think JT Compher is one of them. And then really the other one, I think, is Darcy Kemper. Like, I know that goaltending is important for every series. So it's like, it's kind of cliche to put a goaltender for one of your X factors.
I can't remember who has this quote, but I want to say it was Jeff Merrick quoting somebody else, but like hockey should just be called goalie, right? That's the whole be all end all.
It is the name of the game. And I think we're at a point now we know Mike Smith can do this in the postseason.
He's at the very least turned it back on from previous years.
He's been excellent.
Mm-hmm.
So to me, it comes down to he doesn't have to be better or even match it. He just has to be close.
He doesn't have to be a world beater.
20 in this series. He just has to be a 9-15.
Yeah, he doesn't have to be a world beater. He doesn't, because we know
he can't lose them games.
He gets run support. He gets goal
100%.
support.
And there's going to be some games where he just has to be good enough, and there's going to be some games where he has to be better than just good enough.
Mm-hmm.
So, we're not asking the world of him. If he can finish this series with, say, a 9-14 save percentage, the Avalanche should probably win the series.
How much of a treat is it that at the end of the day, we're going to get to see either Connor McDavid and Leon Draisaitl
or Nathan
McKinnon
and Cale Makar
go for a Stanley Cup.
It's great. And I remember like one of my favorite memories of my time at Canisius, my freshman year, being able to cover the Frozen Four. I got to see Cale Makar play in a championship game. And now he's going to be competing to potentially get to the Stanley Cup final just not even 4 years later.
Right.
Time flies, man. Fun, crazy.
You're telling me.
He was just at UMass not that long ago, and now he is a top 3 defenseman.
You're telling me, man, I'm almost 2 years removed from mine, and I'm like, whoa. I'm like, what happened other than a friggin' global pandemic?
Yeah.
That still drives me crazy, man. I was in the middle of shooting.
Crazy. He was in college before COVID happened, but it didn't really feel like it was that long ago.
Well, like for me too, because remember, I've told you the story before.
Mm-hmm.
I was in the middle of shooting 2 big projects. We were going into our spring break before everything shut down. We were in the middle of our spring break when everything shut down.
Because we were about to go back home for spring break, right when we figured out that everything was about really kind of to shut down. So I brought most of my stuff back.
You're just like, all right, we're not going back anyway.
I was just like, we're not fucking coming back. See y'all. Love you. See you later.
This is crazy though, because like this is the West at very least. These teams haven't made it this far in a very long time.
Mm-hmm.
As franchises go.
Yeah, because Oilers last time here was what, 2006?
2006.
And then the Avs last time was 2002, right?
02 or 01.
I think it was the 01.
I think so. I think the last time the Avs made the Cup final was 2001, and the last time they made the conference final was 02.
I believe I think that's what happened.
Because they faced the 2002, I think, was the Patrick Waugh Statue of Liberty save, if I'm not mistaken. How crazy is that we don't even remember something from our era, or that we remember something like that?
It's one of the funniest bloopers of all time. Him just like making an unbelievable save, one of the greatest saves I think we've ever seen in NHL history.
Ugh, yeah.
And then it's ruined because he dropped the fucking puck.
Right. So yeah, we've made our predictions. Avs and Edmonton for you, Avs for me, both in 6. And then you went Rangers 7, I went Tampa 7.
So
just real quick to wrap this up, Jason Spezza announced his retirement.
Yes. And CJ got it right.
He's coming back.
Special assistant to the general manager, which I think is hilarious because I think of The Office and I'm like, assistant to the general manager.
Right. But the nice thing is, he's still going to be able to help this team out.
Yeah.
He's going to be basically what I've heard from CJ from a couple other reporters is that he's going to be taking at least this first week or two and learning all the assets to the front office.
Yeah.
And all the aspects to it. And then later on, they'll decide what his specific role is going to be.
His role is GM in waiting.
Honestly, I can see it.
I can honestly see that. Like, if the Maple Leafs run this thing back and they don't win in the first round again, I can honestly see a scenario where if they fire Dubas, their replacement is Jason Spezza.
I mean, he's been player coach ever since he got there.
Yeah.
And
also just the success of so many great NHL players becoming GMs. When you look at Steve Yzerman and Joe Sakic, Rob Blake's been really good in LA.
Bergevin for a time.
Yeah. So, like, you know, there's a pretty good, you know, amount of history for
player GMs. Yeah.
Yeah.
And
so I could Jason Spezza become a really good GM? I don't know. He could. He might be able to.
Be nice.
Jason Spezza can do anything in my eyes. So
Jason Spezza can do anything, like literally from the pizza line to what he did in Dallas to completely revitalizing himself and reinventing himself in Toronto. And he looked like he had fun again, didn't he?
Yeah.
Those last couple of years in Dallas, he wasn't having fun.
Yeah, he didn't look like himself. And
he goes home.
And literally. He's playing in just a bottom six role. It's not like he's playing a ton of minutes, but he was so effective in those.
But he also was finally able to accept that.
Yeah.
Like in Dallas, when he was winding down, he didn't accept the bottom six role.
Well, it was also hard for people to accept him in a bottom six role because he was being paid so much money. And when you're in Toronto making next to nothing, it's easier. It's just, he's just a guy who's not making a lot.
League man, he's fine.
Exactly. So, like, it was nice to see how his career ended in terms of how he played. It just would have been nicer had he had a chance at maybe winning that elusive cup or reaching 1,000 points.
Getting the second cup would have been nice. And reaching 1,000 points if it weren't.
Did he win a cup?
2007. Oh no, wait, he cup final.
Yeah, again.
I keep forgetting that the Ducks won that cup.
Yeah,
that's
like it. Yeah.
God, that sucks.
Yeah,
should have got a cup, and honestly, he could have gotten 5 points if
Danny Heatley should have gotten a cup.
He could have gotten 5 points in that home opener in his first year with Toronto. I will never get over that.
Oh yeah, fuck you, Babcock.
God. But literally all the best to Spezza, one of the best players we've seen, one of the nicest personalities we've seen this sport have.
Oh yeah.
One of the best laughs ever. Literally just go watch old videos of him laughing after this, right? And I think with that, because you are getting summoned multiple times, we're going to wrap it up there. We'll probably save the draft talk for Saturday.
Yeah,
I wanted to do draft talk, but we can go a little bit more in depth on
We'll
Saturday.
go more in depth on Saturday because we're not going to be covering the end of the series or previewing a series. We'll just talk about like a couple games. So that's the better way to go.
And into the draft, into the young guns, and we will see y'all on Saturday. So take care.
Jake Jackets, a podcast for fifth liners and all puckheads around. Follow the guys on Twitter at Snake Gehringer, GARRINGER, and at by J Ashdown. And subscribe on YouTube or wherever you listen. March on.